So yesterday was a day in all of the Diddy news. So there's like multiple things that happened yesterday that led up to the fact that Diddy was not given a bail. So he was actually he stayed the night in jail, and today they are going to be trying to appeal that so that he can come home until all the court stuff happens. But let's take a step back. So yesterday when we left off here, we were waiting for the indictment to be unsealed. That means we were waiting for the documents to be available so that we could know why all of this is happening. What did the police find? Who's going to be involved? What he's going to be charged with? All of that stuff. So the indictment was sealed, and in that indictment, the charges went from everything. I'm going to get the exact charges 1 second, but they went from everything from sex trafficking, coercion. There was like violence, racketeering, and a lot of this was basically framing Diddy as this person who runs this huge organization. And when they talk about, they call it an enterprise. And when they talk about it
criminal
as
enterprise.
Criminal enterprise. When they talk about it as an enterprise, they put together all of his businesses. So like Combs, Global, Bad Boy, all of the businesses he ran. They said that with those businesses, he used the people who worked for him is Diddy, use the people who worked for him, so assistants, security guards, even down to like, you know, the cleaning staff in his home, chefs, anybody that was around him basically, to be able to manipulate women to participate in highly orchestrated performances with male commercial sex workers. That's how page one gets into all of this stuff. And after the indictment was sealed, there was also a press conference where the prosecutor's office broke down some of this. So we have audio where I want to take a listen to it right now, where they talk about the criminal enterprise that they're trying to, you know, frame Diddy with running. Let's take a listen.
Given that he's the sole defendant in this case and that you allege he's part of a conspiracy that involves members of his companies, do you anticipate a superseding indictment bring allegations against other members of his companies or other co-conspirators as well?
Again, I can't take anything off the table. Anything is possible. Our investigation is very active and ongoing. And I think a lot of you who cover this office know that when we say such things, that developments are certainly foreseeable, but I cannot predict them sitting here today.
Now, when he talks about superseding indictment, that basically means that at any time, if they find out like they need to bring in more witnesses, that there's new evidence or whatever, they're going to be like rearrange the indictment filing so that all that stuff can be included.
Well, what evidence do they have thus far, Lauren?
So the evidence that they have thus far, they found AK-47s in his home. These AK-47s had scratched off serial numbers. They found 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant.
I'm telling you right now, whoever bought the lube and the baby oil is getting a conspiracy charge. If you ever went to Costco and bought that KY in bulk for Diddy, you are going to jail. Whoever bought the Johnson & Johnson for Diddy's Johnson is going to jail.
Jesus.
Now look, so that's on page 7. For anybody that's following this through the documents, stay with me, right? So on page 7, that's when they introduced this as a freak off. In the press conference,
not a dry booty in the house.
Not
a dry booty in that way. Go ahead.
His supply of oils is insane, right? More than a man at the gas station. So on page 7, they talk about this as a freak off, and they list this stuff as freak off supplies. So in addition to the baby oil and the lubricant, they also mentioned they found different narcotics, and that the people that they're saying are involved in all of this would be in charge of cleaning up the freak offs. So they would not even.
So semen and KY.
Imagine that job.
It's a prep and it's a post. So in the prep, they would come and set up the rooms. Allegedly, these are the people that work for the Combs and this whole enterprise.
Right.
They would put lighting up. They would, I guess, like change sheets. They would do whatever they needed to get it ready, lay out stuff, and then on the back end, they would change sheets again.
On the back end,
because sometimes they're also accusing Diddy of like there being violence during these freak offs. Sometimes he would get upset when people didn't want to do what he wanted to do. So they would have to clean up the hotel rooms, like if things were damaged or whatever, so that when the hotel staff came in, they had no idea what was going on. Let's take a listen to
blood and brown
the
stains
freak off
everywhere.
conversation.
Smell of the room.
Ew.
I told him myself in early September, you are going to be arrested soon, and you're going to be charged with racketeering, and you're going to be charged with sex trafficking. So come to New York. And in fact, we offered that he would turn himself in. So my defense is very well established. I interviewed myself, the different men who, you know, were being brought into Mr. Combs and this person's intimate situation. There's not the slightest inkling, according to the interviews that I've done, of anything that's coercive, non-consensual. Nobody was too drunk. Nobody was too high. These were adults in a relation. This is a 10-year relationship, and it was adults and consensual, and everybody who was there wanted to be there.
Well, the feds say otherwise because they got tapes, right?
Yes. So the federal agents are basically claiming that these people on the other side are saying that is not true. We were given drugs. We were there's videos that were taken that we didn't know were even being taken that were used as collateral against us to make us do things we didn't want to do. And that because of how powerful Diddy is, people were just scared to not be involved once you got to a certain point in things, or if something went the way you didn't want it to speak out about it. Like,
but all that has to be proven, though. All that has to be proven.
Yes. I mean, that's why they're in court. Yes. Everything has to be proven.
Well, it sounds like they got a lot of evidence, and you know, I was thinking about this yesterday after having a conversation with somebody. If you was videotaping people without their will, were you also using those videotapes as blackmail? Because that could be part of the
that's what they're alleging. They're alleging that it was being used as
but like you said, it has to be proven. But like even with the bail, the fact that they haven't given a bail, which is confusing to me.
Yes, so let's get to the bail, and we actually probably have to pick this up in the next hour. Yep. But the bail package. So when it came time for the actual arraignment, which is where he sits down and says, "Hey, I want to go home. I don't want to stay here." Diddy's package that he offered, it was pretty impressive, honestly. Like, most people don't come to the court having all this. So he offered a $50 million bail package. So $48 million of that, he was putting up his house on Star Island. And for the record, he said that he paid off $18 million on this home in preparation for court because he wanted to be able to surrender to prosecutors. He was going to put up $2 million from his mom's home in Miami. He was willing to limit his travel only to New York for the case, New Jersey, and Florida. He would wear a GPS monitor to let the prosecutors know where he is at all times. He would park his jet. In the jet he is trying to sell right now because he wants to be able to offer up more collateral. And he was willing to surrender. No, they've already done it. They surrendered the passports of his kids, his mom, and himself. Right. So he did all this because he wanted to go home. And they were like, no, you are. The judge agreed with the prosecutors that because of the violence that you saw in the Cassie video, they brought up Cassie's video a lot.
But he's not being charged for the Cassie thing, right?
No, but yeah. So we're going to talk more about that because technically Cassie is the only, according to Diddy's attorney, is the only victim listed in the indictment. But the way that they're trying to charge him for that is more about like trafficking and different things. So that's why you'll hear Diddy's attorney keep saying she was there because she wanted to be. She wasn't trafficked. He even talked about that on CNN. Do we have that audio? I know we have it. I'm just throwing it.
Sure. He's not charged with hitting, kicking, and dragging. He's charged with sex trafficking, and he didn't traffic anybody.
But he's charged with a conspiracy here where he was using physical abuse, emotional abuse, financial pressure, as prosecutors allege, to keep these women in his fold. Maybe just Cassie Ventura, but keeping these women in the fold.
Cassie Ventura lived by herself. She had her own house. She had a family. She had a career. And he was seeing another woman at the time. He wasn't around a lot. She could have done whatever she wanted to do. All of these allegations of, I was forced, I was coerced, I had to stay, are nonsense. And it's going to be proven to be so.
I don't know about all that. I don't know what the lawyer is talking about. But I will say this: if you put all of that stuff up for bail, you're trying to prove that you wouldn't be a slippery suspect. You know what I'm saying? You surrender your passports and your family passports because you want to prove that you're not going to slip out of the country.
Well, go ahead.
But that's a very slippery slope. But I would say
why is that a slippery slope?
Y'all, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to, because I want to make sure that we give this the conversation it deserves because we haven't even gotten into the amount of times they leaned into Cassie and the difference between a victim and a witness in this indictment. And I want people to understand
Cassie is definitely a victim.
Yes. But people, 100%. There are a lot of people arguing that they don't think the prosecutors have much on Diddy because they only mentioned one victim and a bunch of witnesses. So I want to make sure we get to that. So
we must have heard two different cases.
It's a conversation.
A lot of analysts have been breaking it down and they've been saying that even with the bail, like you look at Harvey Weinstein, he got a bail for what he did. You look at people that have done manslaughter got bails before. So the fact that Puff is giving up $50 million, giving up his family's passports, saying that I will only be here, I will wear a GPS system, and the fact that they still don't want to give him a bail.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to because I have some audios we need to play too, because his attorney is also arguing this. So in the next hour, I'm going to make sure we bring this back so we can talk about it.
We do know that the feds know more than us, right?
100%. I think they're holding out on their hand. I definitely think they're not putting all their cards on the table. But we're going to get into it, so we'll be back.
All right, we'll get back. Well, we have front page news when we come back, so don't go anywhere. It's The Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.